So when it came to foreign policy, I'll be honest, I didn't vote for you in 2016. I was jaded. Obama let me down. I'm
Yeah.
from Chicago. I thought 2016 was silly. And then in 2020, with the timeline for getting out of Afghanistan,
Right.
when you tried to get our troops out of Syria, my question is, why are we in Syria? Who even knew?
Yeah.
And they lied to you and they lied to us about the number of troops in there. And so maybe it's a bit blunt for me to say I want to see people prosecuted for the lies of the American people. But in terms of foreign policy, perhaps it's a little bit of a biased interview, but I think you're the greatest president of my lifetime.
I appreciate it. I
And
do.
ending the wars that we should not have been involved in. Now the fear is World War III.
Yeah.
What are you looking at when you enter your next term to stopping the escalation?
Well, first of all, I'm the only one that is going to stop World War III because this man can't put two sentences together. He doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know where he is. And amazingly, it seems like he's going to be running. You know, it's a lot of people say, do you think he'll make it to the starting gate? Well, we'll see what happens. But if you look at Viktor Orban, because we don't want to see wars, I don't want to see wars. I was in no wars other than we finished a war with ISIS and we completed it, 100% complete. But I don't want to see wars. I think it's so horrible, so unnecessary, so costly in terms of lives and money in that order.
What's going on? What's Talks Skinny here today? You saw from the intro. This was a interesting interview by Tim Pool. It was a 17-minute video on his premiere live stream yesterday on Memorial Day. And I kind of wanted to talk about a few things. I really believe that civilian journalism is going to be the next thing, right? I don't think anyone wants mainstream people really talking anymore. That's the feeling I get. Because I really enjoyed how kind of Tim approached this interview. He let Trump speak, right? He gave his personal opinion, right? Because we know, like, as a civilian, you have an opinion, you have a position on this thing, right? And it seemed more honest. It seemed like a more honest interview than the ones we're used to seeing. Because we know in mainstream media, the CNN of the world, even the Fox News of the world, they're trying to get you to believe a certain narrative, I would say. And the World War III stuff, it seemed like a sentiment that all civilians share, that we do not want to go in war. But it seemed like people on the political class, the political kind of pundits, some of them, old guard conservatives, they seem to want this war. I don't know why. They seem to want this war, right? I don't think Fox News will be putting an anti-war kind of person on their shows, because I don't think that's the narrative that they want to push and propagate. And it seems like media has become something where instead of trying to inform you, they want to tell you how you should think about these things. And they filter out information that goes kind of counter to their narrative that they're trying to project. And before I go dive deeper into my reaction to some of the clips that I've been seeing on X, I want you to check out this clip of Elon Musk talking about civilian journalists and see what he thought about it. And I think a lot of his comments about civilian journalism is true. So let's take a look.
The people choose the narrative and let the people determine the truth, and not 5 editors-in-chiefs of major publications. Do you want to know what's really going on, or do you want their opinion? It's a handful of people. I think we want to know the voice of the people, the true voice of the people. Now the thing that a lot of traditional journalists don't like is they don't like being put on the same platform as the average citizen. They don't like their voice being the same. They're pretty mad about that.
Yes, there are several news organizations who don't like your push for democratization and what they believe is the devaluing of the badges because they were differentiated. Is that just a moment in time?
No, that's deliberate. I think it's very important to elevate citizen journalism. I think it's very important to hear the voice of the people, the actual voice of the people, not the filtered voice of the people.
Yeah, I think the commentary is spot on, right? The mainstream media hate people like, people who do stuff online and people are getting their information online, right? I heard there was something where I think CNN was only getting 83,000 live viewers or 83,000 viewers on any given show, on any given hour. And there's some YouTubers online right now, right? Some of the famous ones like Tim, Black Conservative Perspective, The Quartering. These guys get about 100,000 per video. So on a given day, these YouTubers are getting around 300,000 views per day on their channel. And I think that pisses off a lot of these journalists that went to school. They went to journalism school. They're by their liberal colleagues, being taught by their liberal professors, taught to see, conditioned to see the world from a liberal point of view. They themselves are liberal. They donate heavily to the Democratic Party, and they don't think none of that bias bleeds into their process and how they actually put out journalism. They're skeptical of information that goes against their guy, Biden laptop. Oh no, that's Russian disinformation. Dismissive, usual classical liberal bias, or I guess temperament. Dismiss information that is inconvenient to a narrative that you hold. And then when that narrative's confirmed, oh, I guess we were wrong about that, but we won't admit that we were wrong about that. COVID-19, how hysterical the left was about COVID-19, trying to force everyone to get vaccinated, put masks on. Information come out. Now they want to put out articles. Can you forgive us? We were all anxious during COVID. We couldn't help it, so don't hold it against us. But no apology though. And this is a cycle I always seem to recognize. And now it's happening with Trump. Trump, oh my God, Trump's the worst thing since sliced bread. Now you got a president that you wanted. Remember, Biden's the most popular president in history, 81 million votes. Now you look at polls, everyone wants Trump back. Some Democrats want Trump back. Many independents want Trump back. Republicans definitely want Trump back. It's crazy. When you believe the narrative that the media sells you, it literally leads people to their own destruction. Only the rich benefited from Biden's economy. If you don't own assets, inflation's against you, not for you. Wealthy people own assets. So with inflation, their assets become even more. They're protected from inflation. That's why if you saw, I told you this stats already. If you're wealthy, the wealthier you are, the more likely you are to say that inflation is not an issue in your life. So this one, when you get guys like Mark Cuban saying, "Oh, I'll put to bat for Biden, Joe Biden," of course you're gonna go to bat for Joe Biden. You got wealthier under Joe Biden, but the common folks, right, like us, we struggling out here. Cost of living is higher. We have to be more cautious with our budget. We had to change our buying habits to get the same goods and services that we are used to. But no one sees a problem with that. That sounds like a strong economy to you? Or wealthy people are shopping at Walmart. That sounds like a strong economy to you? And this is why I think Trump is getting so much support. So enough rambling from me. Let's finish. Let's look at some clips and continuation of that Trump interview.
Because we don't want to see wars. I don't want to see wars. I was in no wars other than we finished a war with ISIS and we completed it, 100% complete. But I don't want to see wars. I think it's so horrible, so unnecessary, so costly in terms of lives and money in that order, and destroying these countries. You know, you're destroying culture. When you look at Ukraine, that would have never happened if I were president. You look at the October 7th attack on Israel, it would have never happened.
I look at your policies, I see secure the borders, bring jobs
Right.
back. I look at the Democrats and many Republicans, and it's foreign war and foreign expansion.
That's right.
What is that?
I think it's just a failed mentality. It's crazy. You can solve problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they listen to you. Viktor Orban of Hungary, you know, the leader, they call him a strong man. Who cares if he's a strong man or not a strong man? He's a very powerful guy. He said the problem the world has is that Donald Trump is no longer president. When he was president, China didn't play around, Russia didn't play around, nobody played around, and we had no problems. Today, the whole world is on fire.
Yeah. But you think Democrats care? No. And then they'll pretend they're such a bleeding heart liberal, right? Oh, look, Biden's going to bring decency back to the White House. Seems like Joe Biden brought chaos back to the White House. Chaos back to America. Illegal immigration is the biggest issue on Joe Biden's pocket, right? And this is where I find funny. Here's a clip: more black voters switching to Trump, right? But it's not about Trump. Like, honestly, it's not about Trump. People are recognizing, So this is what Trump was talking about. Oh, this is America last. I didn't believe him. When us pundits were saying, oh no, Biden's gonna put you last. At least with Trump, he's putting y'all first. Y'all go, nah. Media told me he's a racist, dumb. He'll destroy us. He'll get us into World War III. Everything they said about Trump, Biden did it. Crazy. Biden's the actual culprit of all those things. Assumptions versus reality. Assumption was Trump was going to get us into record inflation, destroy the economy, screw things up. But a guy who's been a politician almost all his life, Joe Biden, is the one who actually do it. Make it make sense. I don't know. You know, they say truth is stranger than fiction, right? And this is some of the stuff people are saying now.
I never would have even considered thinking about voting for Donald Trump. But living in America these last 4, it's a consideration.
A consideration that's reflected in some polls.
And I don't think I need to rehash. I think I made a lot of videos already about Trump's growing support with minorities. There's a stat out there. There's a poll out there. I don't know. I forget where. Maybe you guys can research it to fact check me. That on most swing states, the more diverse the community is, the more likely they are to say they will vote for Donald Trump. Make that make sense. I mean, but Biden got a strong economy. Polls say that Americans believe that they're in a recession. Here's why they are mistaken. Mainstream media is saying that. They're saying you're mistaken to feel like you're in a recession. You're mistaken to feel that this is not a strong economy. They're telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. That's what the mainstream media is telling you nowadays. And I'm saying, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them anymore. Mainstream media is telling you doing your own research can guide you into misinformation, aka you may believe a narrative that they don't want you to have. That's what disinformation has become. Especially when politically, most of these misinformation experts lean heavily to the left. It's bias. It's a bias category, misinformation. Misinformation to me, I have like damn near my brain is reprogrammed to when I hear misinformation. To me, it says, alternative view, contrarian evidence, contrarian take on this issue here that you don't want me to have. Until you actually prove how this misinformation, like you tell me black men are going to jail because of racism, I say that's misinformation. Here's why. Don't black men commit most of the crime? Don't we want to hold criminals accountable? So if criminals are going to jail because they're committing a crime, doesn't that explain that why black men are in jail disproportionately? Because 30% of the population is committing 52% of the crime. So why wouldn't they be overrepresented in jail? But you're saying racism? What law says that you got to put him in jail because he's black? You're likely to believe that what I categorize the race narrative of the social justice warrior, that black men are going to jail as being misinformation. I give you my case, but they don't break it down like that. They just say, "Oh no, it's misinformation, cooked up by kooky conspiracy theories." That's what they tell you. That's what the mainstream media is telling you. They're telling you how you should feel about Trump instead of informing you about Trump. And that's the problem I think a lot of people are having with mainstream media. Let's continue with this last clip I have of that I want to go through, and then I'll end the video off with my final thoughts.
Says he's watching what's going on in New York. He owns a business. He can't afford to buy his own house. He struggles to be able to support a family. And I know that you've said that there's going to be the largest deportation effort in your next term. How do we do it?
So millions and millions of people are coming into our country, and it's not necessarily exactly what we want or had in mind. They have open borders where people just flow in. And many of those people are coming from prisons. Many of those people, frankly, are murderers and they're drug dealers, and they're coming from mental institutions, and they're coming from places that are not going to work very well. It's not going to be very good for our country. So we're going to start with.
Yeah. And this is a narrative that I think needs to be debunked heavily about this illegal immigration policy of Trump's support. It benefits white supremacists, white nationalists, white people. It's based on cringe replacement theory. And my butt goes, well, these immigrants, if you're looking at them now, these illegal immigrants that's coming through the country by breaking the law, they're swarming densely populated black areas, Hispanic areas where these people came in legally. Right? These people are not American citizens. They're coming through these areas, highly populated areas, these poverty areas. Because when DeSantis tried to move them to Martha's Vineyard, where all the rich white liberals live at, oh, they got kicked out within the day. But in these heavily Democrat black areas, black people try to do the same thing. Oh, move them elsewhere. And it's a fight. It's a, nah, sit down. Nah, they're going to stay here. They're going to be in your schools. They're going to take over your YMCA, where tax dollars was used to create community centers for your children. But that got to go in the back burner because we need to help these illegal immigrants who broke the law in the first place to get here. You break the law, you go to jail. They break the law, they get handouts and special treatment. And Donald Trump said, no, that can't happen. They got to get out of here. And all of a sudden that helps white people. Make that make sense. Again, a narrative versus the reality. And they wonder why more diverse people are going to vote for Trump because they see it. Oh, so this is the American last agenda. I don't want it. Give me back the mean guy. That's what everyone is saying now. And no matter how the mainstream media spin it, no matter how much they call him a racist, people are going to be like, F it. F it. How is my life better under a racist than someone who pretends he's not a racist, Joe Biden? Laughable. I digress, though.
That, and we have to get them out. No country can sustain what we're going through. I believe the number is 15, 16 million, could even be 17 million people right now.
Is
that's more than that's bigger than almost all of our states.
I think it's freaking out young people. How do we do it though? I mean, is it going to be new personnel?
It will really be done with local police. You know, the respect has been taken away. The honor has been taken away from our police forces. They're not allowed to do anything. And whether it's libertarian or not libertarian, you have to have law and order. You can't have 500 people walking into a department store and just walking out with everything they have.
Yeah, you're creating bad incentives. And that's why I said government, their main job is to create an incentive. Create an environment where you facilitate certain behaviors within the culture. This is why I'm not a libertarian. Because libertarians is like hands off, I'll do whatever you want. Imagine being hands off parenting with your children. Your children gets influenced by the environment around them, and then they end up being whatever. No. Hey, I have authority over this kid. If I'm responsible for the kid, I have some authority over him. So I have the way to, hey, look, this is the path you should go. Here's my leadership. This is where we want our family to be. This is how you operate within our family. It's the same thing with a country. This is why they say libertarians is almost like communism, but in reverse. You don't believe in boundaries. You don't believe in borders. You don't believe in none of that. When in reality, you're never born by yourself. You're always born within a community. Therefore, you always have a duty and responsibility to your community. This is why I'm somewhat of a nationalist. This is why I'm a patriot. The patriotism. That's why I like patriotism. Because you understand, hey, look, I wasn't like the way I am today is because I'm born in America. If I was born in a different country, I would have had a different attitude, a different worldview. And I give credit to the community that I come from. But I can't sit here and pretend, oh, I'm born a perfect, not a perfect, but I'm born as an individual. I have no ties, no responsibility, no duty to no one else. Humans are social creatures. In the wild, if you were by yourself, you're dead. It's rare that a human can survive on their own. But we want to pretend, oh no, we don't need government. Oh no, I'm an individual. Now, I understand it goes both ways. I understand that you need the consent of the individual and you also need the consent of the community. It needs to be beneficial for both sides to be involved with each other. I understand that. That's what America is. That's why I like nationalism. That's what it is. Hey, I benefit from the country. Your country benefits from me being in it. How can we make it a productive situation? I can understand that. That's why I think I'm more of a conservative on this point. But to pretend, oh, I get to extract all these resources from this community and then not preserve it for the next generation, that's where I think a lot of liberal policies are based off of. I think that's what happened to the black community. You come in, you get your war on poverty, you reap all the benefits of it, and then you condemn future generations of black Americans to poverty because of the incentive that's been created from the welfare state. And then you pretend that it's not that, it's racism. It's institutional racism. It's systematic racism. All these boogeymen you create to reflect responsibility from your parents, your grandparents, and previous generations of black Americans that passed down a bad culture, bad incentives, bad ideas to the next generation and they wonder why they're in poverty, why they're falling behind in education, why they're not economically liberated, because you haven't been taught the ideas or the habits to actually be successful. But instead of putting the blame on who was actually at fault, the previous generation, you want to blame some convoluted, abstract idea called racism that you can't even prove is actually a significant problem in your life. But we're supposed to pretend it is because of your skin color. Make it make sense.
And we have to give honor and respect back, and I believe immunity, because so often when a police person does their job, they end up with no pension, they end up with no house, they end up with no family. Everything's taken away from them. They have to get their own lawyer. So we're going to give them back their dignity and their strength. The local police know the criminals that we're talking about. They know their.
It's so interesting how we have created an incentive where we wonder why police don't actually arrest violent criminals, but they're here wasting their time arresting people just protesting or doing this or and there's an incentive there. If he does his job and then he gets sued, or the family say, "Oh, you killed my son," even though your son was out here mass shooting in apartments and all this stuff. He was a danger to the society, and because the cop did his job, sniped him out of his room. Now all of a sudden, oh my God, you killed my son. My son, he had mental health problems. But how he got access to a gun? Like, make it make sense. Like, everyone's supposed to treat your kid with kid gloves, and that's unrealistic. They say a father disciplines his son before the world do, because the father will actually, discipline him in a manner where it's not as harsh as the world will discipline your kid. That's how I grew up. That's how my dad taught me. I'm tough on you, so that way when you go on into the world don't discipline you, because the world won't hold back. That's what my dad essentially taught me. And this is due to bad culture. And we want to get mad. We want to say, policing is racism, even though policing has shown no racial bias whatsoever in their interactions. They may rough up black criminals a little bit more, but I just think it's because black criminals resist more. And it's all this narrative that I think we're literally just projecting narratives that's been conditioned in our minds by mainstream media. And I think it's the time America starts reprogramming itself and take control of that programming away from these institutions and rely more on their own individual capacity. But that's just my thoughts. I want to hear yours in the comment section. What you guys thought about the Tim Pool interview? Did you see it with Trump? I'd like to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.